Hello there, Star Wars fans. Dave Filoni has dominated 2020 with his Clone Wars Season 7. The heights that this animation show has reached are incredible, and with the help of the fan-cited article by Brian E Frydenborg, I'm gonna break down for you the crazy numbers the Clone Wars Season 7 has produced. But before we get to those numbers, let's look at some of the hurdles the Clone Wars had to overcome to achieve its success. First up here, the fan-cited article points out that it's not a hard sell to get people to watch a live-action show starring a fan favorite from Game of Thrones, the other dude from the classic Predator, and co-helmed by a man who was both the director of Iron Man and an executive producer of the Avengers series. End quote. And this is a great point. People were very excited to see a live-action Star Wars show on a brand new Disney Plus streaming service. There was a lot of hype around The Mandalorian because it was really the first of its kind. But on the other hand, the article goes on to state, trying to convince people that a Star Wars cartoon is one of the best dramatic series in years and that it is one of the most complicated intersections of plot lines that took years to build. End quote. And absolutely, there's a clear stigma attached to animation shows and how they are purely for kids. And hey, at times the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels were very much for kids, but at other times they certainly gave us amazing fan content that could be enjoyed by many ages. So in order to dominate 2020, Dave Filoni and the Clone Wars crew had to overcome this idea that animation shows are for kids. And before we get to those numbers, they also had another hurdle to overcome, and that is a lack of marketing. Brian Frydenborg reveals in the article, it was clear that Disney put way more effort into marketing The Mandalorian, even creating a separate behind-the-scenes show about making the show. In contrast, I saw almost no marketing for the Clone Wars. And what's so satisfying for Clone Wars fans is that it partly outperformed The Mandalorian almost entirely on the backs of the show's fans and word-of-mouth buzz. End quote. And it's just amazing to see the power of the fandom at work. Not only did fans on social media help bring back the Clone Wars with the hashtag #SaveTheCloneWars, but they are also the ones behind overcoming this lack of marketing by Disney and taking the show to new heights. End quote. That said, let's get to some of those numbers. In the article they state, while The Mandalorian had overall longer heights of demand expression, at its weekly peak the Clone Wars surpassed not just The Mandalorian but all other series streaming content, both digital originals and all streaming TV series. So far in 2020, that's right, no other series reached the peak level of viewing in 1 week as Clone Wars, which had close to 130 times the average amount of demand expressions in the US for streaming content. End quote. Can you believe that? The highest peak of all shows in 2020. For an animation show, that is unbelievable. I mean, yes, the show has 7 seasons to watch, so that most likely helped boost its numbers, since as people discovered the show, they went back to watch older episodes. And there is also the fact that this was during the pandemic, so tons of folks were stuck at home looking for something to do. But again, we are talking about an animation show outworking massive live-action shows like Stranger Things, The Mandalorian, and The Witcher. I never would have guessed this was possible even during a pandemic. But let's look at some more of the numbers from the article. When the penultimate Clone Wars episode premiered, the show stayed in first digital original spot, though with far higher numbers, and rose to the first overall streaming spot. The ensuing week, when the series finale premiered earlier than usual on Star Wars Day, it maintained both top spots with dramatically higher demand that dwarfed everything else, including over 1.5 times the demand of the second overall spot, SpongeBob, and far more than doubling the number 2 and number 3 originals, The Mandalorian and Stranger Things respectively, achieving the peak demand of anything thus far this year. End quote. So Dave Filoni and the Clone Wars crew have really outdone themselves with the Clone Wars. They dominated all other streaming shows for that week, but hey, there are tons of other stats that are listed in this article, so check out the video description on how to find the article, and let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, I'm Mike, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.